Right. Send a quick tweet out. What's up, my dudes? I was not going to do a stream. I'm kind of tired, but got up early, get out of town, come back in town. What is up? Still alive. Can't believe it. I have a vlog I should be working on from the little trip I just took. It's pretty cool. It was a good trip. It was part a business trip and part just some R&R and much needed. And it was a hoot. It was 12 dudes up in Wyoming. Had a really nice ranch and 2 days of snowmobiling from, I think we got out at, we were up at 5:30, made breakfast, and then we were out on an hour drive to the Tetons. And then the next day was down in Alpine, and it was like, they were completely opposite areas from each other. So I did that, and that was a ton of fun. About 65 miles, 67 miles, something like that the first day on snowmobiles up through the hills and mountains in Wyoming. And then the next day was 80 miles traveled on snowmobile. It was a hoot. The jet's baller. I got to ride up front with the pilots on the flight back. That was fun. Versus hanging in the back and doing some drinking. I wanted to try to make today a usable day, so I didn't want to do any kind of consuming. What's up? No. Savage Mind. What's up, my dude? $5 super chat. Was gonna go live, but the Godfather speaks. I wasn't gonna go live, my dudes, but I need to build this rig. I want to get this rig done. So this is a 6900 XT. We got 6 of them. I think I got 5 here though. I think we're missing one. But I want to get them in here, and I just want to get the rig built. I want to do some testing with the rig, do some configuration testing with the rig, because I want to see it on different algorithms other than ETH. And then I'm going to use a pair of them tomorrow in the 5950X machine that I have right now at about 4.8 gigahertz. Pretty stable at 4.8. I think stable enough to do the Timespy test. I'm going to try to move up on that Timespy meter and see if I can actually get a higher than 33rd in the world. If I can move up to the top 20 in the world again with a pair of these 6900 XT Nitro pluses, that'd be sweet. So I'm gonna get into that build. I'm gonna do the build here, but then I'm gonna peel 2 of them away for that build tomorrow, and then I'm gonna use 2 of the Zotac RTX 3090s and see if I can get on the board also with the 3090s. So I'll have a pair of 6900 XTs on there, and then I'll have a pair of the 3090s, and see if I can compete with some of those, top end YouTubers out there. See if I can get BBT's name out there on that list. Some of the fun stuff. Damn it, Shaz, all the dudes that got me into mining. Nice. Yeah, we got Red Panda mining in here like a boss. That's Savage Mind. It's good to see you guys. I'd love to do a crypto trip with everybody. Come pick everybody up in the jet? What? Where are we going? Just Mike. Just drop it in. BBT is the best. I don't know, dude. Maybe I'm not the best, man. I tried on our behalf to get Ethereum devs to understand the existential risk they're putting that network in, and they're not listening. No, you're not late for the build, my dude. I got one GPU in there right now. I'm actually gonna grab the other ones. You gotta open some up. Let's get these babies built. Couple more. How have I been? I've been great. I've great last few days. Anybody that follows me on Twitter has got to see some of that fun. It has been a hell of a day. It's been a hell of a week, actually. Dubai, let's go. I don't know if the Falcon will make it to Dubai, my dudes. We might have to fly commercial for that. Ugh, let's get these nitros opened up. Concerned we need to know more about EIP 1559 to us miners. I'm concerned and need to know more. Well, I put about 10 scenarios out there of what can happen. And a lot of it's predicated on two big variables. So if you take EIP 1559 at its most base understanding, is you got to look at the yield that we get as miners upon every block. And then you look at the price. The yield is predicated on the amount of difficulty on the network. So if the network difficulty right now is setting at 430 terahash, it takes a yield of around 4 Ethereum with a price around 1,300 to make it as profitable as it is right now for people that are mining, which is fine. There's no social contract. Nobody says it has to be that price nor that yield. However, both of those things happen naturally without anybody messing with anything. So the price went up and the yields are up because of the design of the way Ethereum and like most all other cryptocurrency networks that are proof of work, if you have a lot of volume on your network, a lot of transactions, those transaction fees are summed up and then distributed to the miners as a reward plus your transaction fee. So the current state of things is that transaction fee is pretty sizable. It's as much as the block reward. And that's not uncommon. That's what I mean by that is the Bitcoin. I'll give you an example from Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now puts out 6.25 coins per block. If you go out there and look on what an average transaction, the sum of transaction fees, you will find sometimes instances of close to 3 full BTC on top of the 6.25 BTC that's issued out as part of the inflation. So it's not uncommon that sometimes with a high transaction volume, you will sum up to fees that will get looking like it's almost a block reward. Bitcoin will exhibit this exact same pattern in the next 2 halvings when Bitcoin drops to around 3 coins per block, 3 point and some change. And if the fees still remain high and you're close to 3, then the fees will start to make up more than the block reward. This is not like an oh my god type of thing. It's just in Ethereum, they look at this as an opportunity to possibly create a deflationary action because there's so many fees and there's nothing addressing the fee issue. So they're looking at it as an opportunity that if we burn the base fee, that there might be a situation where we're starting to deflate, because there's only, remember, it doesn't matter about the fees moving around because they're just trading hands. That's not new inflation. That's just movement between somebody else to somebody else. The thing that really matters if you're looking at the inflation curves is how much is being inflated into the system per block. And in Ethereum, it's 2 coins per block. That's the way it is. So there's a chance on some of those blocks that are averaging 4 plus that there's going to be two block reward that's still issued. And then you're going to have possibly 2.5, 3 coins per block that are not part of the MEV calculus that can occur, where people are front running and causing artificial fees to go up. You could have a situation where in certain blocks, Ethereum will start to deflate the amount of Ethereum that are out there. And that artificially being put in is trying to push the price up. Well, as we've known, things like that don't happen just naturally. Like, things will happen naturally that will take a course. Like right now, where we have high prices and high yields, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Where if you're trying to force an increase in price, most of the time it kind of goes the opposite way. At least initially, people kind of sell the news, as it were, right? Or sell the event. So you're going to may see a pump up in price leading up to now that 1559 is part of it. And you'll probably have a selling of that news or that event when it happens, because the real reality of it is the deflation would be so insignificant unless the blocks, which were not being pushed up transaction-wise, if there was 12, 15, 20 Ethereum being part of those fees, and now you started having, 15 Ethereum per block being burned, something to that effect. But those blocks, we're finding out that the ones that are very large have nothing to do with the base fee. So it's all kind of a ruse at the end of the day. So my complaint with all of it has been, is if there's a big run up in fees and the base fee continues to increase and the price goes down, then we have a real risk on Ethereum that you will have a situation where when 1559 goes in, more than half, potentially more than half of the yield will go down, immediately. So then you're going to have a natural effect of the mining power coming off of it pretty quickly and rapidly. And you have an attack vector if that's close to 50+% of that hash power coming off. That's the risk. And they're not addressing the issues with that particular attack vector, that particular risk factor on Ethereum. And I just don't, it makes no sense to me. And then all the arguments that come out that say that we want to pay less for security is a fallacy. That is just people that don't understand. And I'm talking Vitalik himself. He won't come on my damn channel. I would talk to him and tell him the same exact thing, that is built on an elitist understanding of proof of work, that you are not immune and that you are basing it purely on assumption. And he's a smart dude. I can't imagine him really anchoring himself in the fact that he wants to pay the least amount for security, and that's a good thing, right? He's a smart dude. There's no way that I can see him arguing that fact, and I don't care what kind of calculus he comes up with, right? I'll do that calculus with you, my dude. Let's do it. Let's get on a stream together. I've asked all of those dudes to get onto a stream with me, and let's go through some real math on it and look at the real effects of taking that risk is. Now, it might be a low probability, and I'm not discounting that either, but I'm just saying that it's a big risk of a network, and for very little gain of potential there. But that's what they want to do, and I try to pitch the argument that that's a risk, man. I would not take that risk. You'd want more security than you can ever have on a proof of work network, because you want zero chance that somebody can buy that power up and turn it against you. It's the entire premise of proof of work. It's an arms race to make sure you have competition. There's a lot of plastic on that. If I sound like a Texan on any of this stream, I am first off sorry. I'm not making fun of any Texas people, but I was around a whole bunch of Texans this week, and it's the way they talk, and I picked it up. Plus, Jackson Hole is like a cowboy capital. It's got the cowboy bar. It's just, I almost bought a damn cowboy hat. Reading through some of your guys' stuff. Don't sell your rigs. It's just mine other things. Texas is the best. I just kept getting all that same accent and yeehaw. Yeah, and well, by golly, my dudes. Joe Williams dropping a $20 super chat. Totally missed that. Thanks for your MEV video. Started developing an MEV / arbitrage bot. There you go. Jackson Hole does rock. First time I was ever there this week. My very first time to Jackson Hole. It was amazing. People were awesome. You could just roam the town. The downtown area has a lot of rich history. It's amazing. It's a great town, the great views, mountains right up against the roads. What's my personal opinion on 1559? I like most of it. I don't think the fee burn makes a lot of sense, even with all the arguments that have been put forth. And if they put the fee burn in, they should have put a block reward adjustment in there and just took the issue of payment off the table. Did we go to Yellowstone? No, I got close to Yellowstone. We went south to go snowmobiling, and we were really close. You can't take 2-cycle motors into Yellowstone, I don't think. So we were right on the edge, but we never ran the snowmobiles down there. How do the 6900s XTs perform? They perform about as good as the 6800 non-XTs. And that non-XT is actually the better way to go. There was just an opportunity to pick up some 6900s at a not crazily overpriced rate. And these will more than likely... we have 5 of them. I thought we had 6 of them, but I think we only ordered 5 of them. These will end up going into machines, like normal game machines and stuff. These 6900 XTs will. So, but I'm going to put them in a rig right now and do some testing with them, just see see how well they'll do some of the other algorithm that hit the core, because they should do pretty decent. Jay says he sent me a DM on Twitter, tagged you. What really goes into the ins and outs of powering your farm? Quite a bit, my dude. So a lot of extra equipment had to be brought in to beef up the building that we had there. It was a pretty substantial amount, about $70,000 worth of power upgrades. I had to pay for a big transformer, line upgrades, and then wiring all those 30 amps. It's about 70 G's. That was about 2.5 years ago. It probably costs you more now because of just everything costing more. Like there's pre-COVID prices and there's post-COVID prices. Gas on ETH, so ISO high is it constant over 600 to deploying a smart contract. It's just a lot of traffic activity. The arbitrage bots have gone bananas now. And you have a lot of crossover stuff happening on layer 2 also, where people are making modifications and adjusting and going over to... So a lot of the liquidity positions and all that stuff were set up on ETH, and now people are going to BSC, Binance, some of the other tokens that are out there. You're going to have Avalanche getting part of this mix here soon enough. Platform, you'll have 88, maybe eventually. They still got to get a wallet to work. Is Vitalik worried about market share? users moving to cheaper blockchains? I don't think so. I don't think that's the way those core devs operate. I don't think they're. I mean, like they're human, right? So obviously they're watching some of the telemetry come across the screen on other networks, but they're focused on. They should be focused on numero one, which is Ethereum for them, and then trying to get their stuff done. And that's all they're focused on. That's what they should be focused on. 70K, not complaining about the cost of a power supply again. Well, I mean, it's about bringing more additional power on. When you start ramping up a lot more power, um, especially if you're going to pull in like 200, 300,000 extra watts of electricity, now you're talking a zero point 0.3 megawatt, which is essentially what the BBT farm has, is a little over 0 0.3 megawatt capability, and we're using about 200 megawatt or 0.2 megawatt, which is pretty small still, my dude. Like there's people that have 10, 12 megawatt facilities, right? We're 0.3 max. So it's not a huge amount by no means. Um, and that's why I did an early. I kind of try to jump ahead on what would like certain coins like Raven coin. There's still a couple that I want to do when it comes to um, ETC. They're on. See, I people have asked me, and I get a lot of these questions, and I'm going to try to answer it on this stream. So one of the questions comes in. Hey, I always hear you talking about Raven coin. Why would you cost out Ravencoin versus something like ETC? Here's the problem with ETC. And it's not anything to do with like ETC can't do anything like Ethereum can. So from a yield standpoint, ETC will always be behind the power curve. Something like Raven puts out 5,000 coins per block every 1 minute. So the price does not have to get very high to make it as profitable from a yield standpoint to price standpoint as ETH, right? If Ravencoin pushed past $1, it could take on 70% of Ethereum's network. Like all the force projection of GPUs on there, if it pushed past $1, right? Easily at 51 cents, it can start to take a lot of Ethereum's miner away because it has enough profitability. So it doesn't, because of 5,000 coins per block, your distribution, your yield that you would be getting from Ravencoin, you would get so much more Ravencoin yield even at that low price. So it doesn't need to get the price very high to make that worthwhile for miners to absorb the impact from ETH. ETC, even at, I think it was what ETC's at like 4 coins per block, maybe 3. I need to look at their reward, but they don't have a huge amount of transactions. So they're not going to have that same transaction issue as Ethereum. So now you're talking 3 to 4, ETC max coming out every 15 seconds. So ETC, like Ethereum, needs to really ramp up in price and needs to be, $500-$600 ETC price, which right now it's like what, like 8-10 at most, maybe 13. I don't really pay attention to ETC's price that much anymore, but like that's its problem. It will never be able to get the yield, so it will have to go up in price a lot. Where Ravencoin, 5,000 coins per block. So Ravencoin's going to go into a halving also, and you're looking at a halving in January of next year. So it'll go to 2,500 coins per block. And now we'll start to see it do the same dynamics start to work where you have a hard fixed limit. Ravencoin has a hard fixed limit. It's also brought a lot of features on other, than Bitcoin. So it has a lot of opportunity to absorb the large amount of miners as people get more confidence and start building on Ravencoin for its own purposes. It's not a competitor to Ethereum. Ethereum's a different machine, right? Ethereum has an entire DeFi NFT architecture that's a platform that allows and facilitates those things at a high cost right now because of its fees. But Ravencoin's competing in a different way. as a non-competitor, but it could absorb that security blanket from Ethereum as Ethereum starts to transition to proof of stake. So a lot of that hash power, that force projection of hash power will want to go somewhere. It doesn't, again, no social contracts on any of this. Anybody's tracking this doesn't mean that these coins have to pump to support all of that mining. What it means is that the potential is there because there's a lot of people mining. So if there's a lot of people mining, that gives you, it gives people that are looking at coins to understand the depth, right, of potential of mining hash power, and where that pivots to. And if it Ravencoin or any of them, ETC, Vertcoin, any of those take that amount of potential hash power, like let's say the price runs up and then a whole bunch of hash power gets on it, some of that noise is going to be, hey, there's a lot of, this is a secure network, there's a lot of stuff going on to move people to it. And I think we're already starting to see that. A lot of people started moving stuff over to Raven. Raven's sitting around 3 terahash, bumped up to about 5.5 terahash, and then had a 30, almost a 30x bump from 1 cent to 30 cents in this most recent pump. And now it's sitting around, 12, 15 cents. It's still setting up almost 15 times what it was, 12 times what it was. And it's hash power has reciprocated to fill in that gap, and now we're at almost 10, 12 terahash. Maybe it's around 9 now, but like Ravencoin has that potential because of the yields that it has. But yeah, that's why it's no hate on ETC. I mean, has finally made a move to try to secure its issues with its 51% of tax by implementing MES, but it still doesn't give it a lot of opportunity to really jump unless its price goes up a lot. I got to pull this plastic off these. For a long time, I was also really big on that. This is probably really. You guys hear that? Is that too loud? I don't want to rip headphone users with pulling off that plastic. Yeah, it's just a plastic on the outer edge. It's a good looking card, man. Let's get that down here. Got some screw anchors here. Yeah, 8.97. So yeah, it came down some. It had a potential to jump up to 15 or so terahash if that price stayed around 30. ASMR. As we peel the plastic from the GPU. I love that sound, new GPUs. I love you guys. You guys think just like me. Yeah, Sapphire does really good work. I like Sapphire. Sapphire is a good company from on the AMD side. Really likes their stuff. BBT, let me get one of those. You want to test one out, my dude? Send you one for a test. Clean those up. Yeah, I do appreciate the thumbs up on the videos, my dudes. That helps the algorithm share this with more people. $132K of network difficulty right now on Ethereum. He goes, heck yeah. I gotta call in my electrician. Is this sound coming through the mic right now? Like the RTX voice really drowns out a lot of stuff. So a lot of the reason why we have the 6900s, the 6800 non-XTs actually would have worked out a lot better, but we couldn't get them. The Nitros came in where we could get them, and for their price point, we can actually switch out some of the cards that I have in some of these other machines and put them in the gaming machines. So these will probably end up going in the gaming machines, but I want to see what they can do from just like some tweaks and optimizations on something like Raven, where you're having a core heavy prog pow, where you can take advantage of the decent core on the 6900s, and hopefully get a pretty good yield comparison out versus like the plain 6800 XT, where the 6900 is noticeably faster than the 6800 non XT. Like on like a gaming side, like you can tell the difference of the 6900 versus the 6800s. So on core heavy applications or core heavy, when you have a core heavy algorithm, I want to see, because I do have the 6800 non XT, I want to ensure that what the delta between the 6800 versus the 6900 XTs are. And then I want to put a couple of these paired together and then try to break some records on Timespy and stuff. Oh, we got a big old super chat from somebody. James Grover, like a boss, my dude. Been out mining since 2013. God has helped me since then. Turned my life around. Nice, my dude. Had some meth issues for good reasons. Question: if you had 30 to 60K to invest in equipment, what are you buying? Well, I'm going to tell you right now that right now is not a super good time to buy equipment because you're going to be paying a high premium. What I've told people that are trying to invest that kind of money into stuff is do a DCA, a dollar cost average, in the coins that you believe in. Do your research. I think Bitcoin's a good position to DCA in. Use that cash capital to your advantage if you have that much to invest, and do some smart research on where to put that into some of the coins. And as those appreciate, then you could either keep your coin stack there or come back into equipment when it comes cheaper. It's best. It does exactly the opposite of what you would think. Like right now, revenues are high for people that already have cards. And we had ordered these cards back in December. So if you think about it mentally, December ordering time frame, Bitcoin was around 27,000. Ethereum still hadn't pumped yet. We put orders on these cards. We got them now. Huge pumps now. All the prices of everything went way up, right? So what I would tell you is, if you believe in this space and you've done your research and you've got to the point where now you're asking that question of where do you put 30 to 60,000, I think you don't buy your equipment right now. I think it's you're paying a taxed premium, and that money has a much more potential if you do it through a DCA approach. So dollar cost average approach, where you take that and you split those into like 2K buckets every couple weeks, do it on a Sunday, and you're buying on the dips. And all you're doing is accumulating coins. And then when you get a point to where when cards and everything come down, they come back down to reality, maybe we have a pullback in the market, then you can take an opportunity at that time if you want to get into mining, and you buy cards when everybody else are capitulating cards and you're buying them cheap. You want to buy the equipment cheap. You want it as cheap as possible, especially with GPUs. GPUs are one of these things will hold a lot of value, but not when they're super overpriced right now. So if you're paying like $2,000, $3,000 for like 6,800 basics, like these cards on eBay are going for like $2,000 plus. I would not do that, right? These cards at like $1,279, I think is what we paid for these when we ordered these. And then some of the 3090s and stuff for like $1,800. They're $2,500, $2,600 cards now. So you're paying this huge $700 premium that you're never going to get back. But people are going to look at the MSRP and they're going to set a price on them. So when they start to come back down, I mean, think about it this way, like the RTX 2080 Ti's were around, I think I paid $1,300 for my EVGA for the Win 3s. And those cards at one point went all the way down to about $800, $900. That was the lowest they ever went. And I could have been buying them for that kind of price. And then now they're close to $1,500 plus again, almost full retail.
Some of the RX 480s, 490s that were 209 when they came out are still going for 279, 280. So it's one of those things when people are like, well, why would I want to buy hardware when mining quote unquote is dead? And let's say ETH goes back down to $600. They do EIP 1559. Let's say Ravencoin crashes right back down to a penny. Nothing's able to mine. Let's think of this world. Think of that in a world standpoint, and you still had 30 to 60,000 to invest. At that time, you're gonna have a lot of cheap hardware come out. Well, the hardware doesn't lose a huge amount of dollars. It really doesn't. I mean, it has its pitches and valleys in this space. So you want to, if you ever want to buy equipment, that's the time that you want to buy. It seems counterintuitive, but that's just the time you buy. And that hardware may sit on a shelf until it's time to use. But that's when you want to kind of deploy that kind of capital into the space. You never want to deploy that kind of capital right now. Like right now, these cards, since we ordered in December, that's pretty much it. Like we're not bringing any more new cards in right now. There are no more orders. Where we're at, because we don't want to pay huge premiums right now for that, for the hardware. It just doesn't make sense to us. So I'm trying to give you the best advice possible on it, and just DCA it if you're wanting to do that kind of cash capital into it. And you can take a different kind of strategy. I mean, people do different strategies. Again, this is just with his the way the SEC and everybody work right now, like looking at people, pumping stuff and all that. It's just, this is like not financial advice. I have to say that, right? But it's just the way I would approach things personally. And again, do your research. Look at a couple other videos. See what other folks are doing. And even like our distributors, like we ordered through MA Labs, and the distributors are just they're out of stuff, and they're also marking up the price some too. And there's some tariff issues. You got certain companies that are not up in their tariff cost and prices. I think EVGA is one of them. Are not bumping their prices up, but I've seen some Azuses and MSIs that are a lot higher. Why not just buy the coins and not the hardware? So there's a hedge. That's the hardware's always been a hedge. So the hedge is that you have a generation. So like at the BBT farm, it generates a certain amount of income now every month, right? And that is not a full guarantee, but it's a pretty decent return on that initial investment. And that hardware, like right now, if we wanted to sell that farm, is ridiculous. Like about a 1.2, 1.3 million into the entire farm, right? From hardware. That's not counting labor and setup. That's just hardware, switches, GPUs, scale of the farm, power upgrade, all that kind of stuff. That type of farm right now would sell for $5 to $6 million to a turnkey person, because they look at it from a PE, a ratio, a profit and estimate ratio of what does that yield over like a 5-year period. And they're looking not at the current prices, they're looking at total yield over a certain period of time. And they're looking like they could get their investment back times X, if things go up 10X factoring. Because you look at it when the farm first was started back in 2016 and what its potential of creation to now has made, right? So that's why hardware, because it's an asset. It's a physical asset. Physical asset still retains value. ASICs, on the other hand, this is part of the risk with ASICs, is especially an alt ASICs versus BTC ASICs. We've had what, 7-8 generations of Bitcoin ASICs. The S9s lasted a long time and made a lot of people a lot of money. Those S9s did. The S17 Pros and some of the next generation and stuff are going to go for 3+ years. And you already have a crunch on the supply chain right now for new stuff coming out. So you have this natural order of things when it comes to the ASICs, if it's a pure ASIC driven system. So those hardware folks that are focusing on the ASICs for coins like Bitcoin, it's a real, I'll call it a natural ramp. You have Bitfury, you have a few makers only that are in that space. So So to get a hold of that equipment at the earliest, try to de-incentivize any of those guys from making it and using your money to run them, kind of like what's going on within a Silicon right now, where they've taken orders and people still haven't got their stuff yet. Some people have, but some people are still waiting for batches. And then you can see on F2 Pool entire farms of those X, they're in a Silicon A11 and Phoenix miners right now actively mining, right? And people are still waiting for their orders. So you have kind of a risk issue there. And those A10s and A11s are like $26,000 or something right now. You may be able to get your ROI on an ASIC. It makes it like, who cares? Like, why would you take the risk on getting an ASIC and trying to get your $26,000 back over a long period of time? Where GPUs can make you that, and then the GPU core cost is probably damn near what you paid for it. So that's why hardware. It's a long answer to the hardware, but the hardware on the long-term time, if you're short-term, you're pretty much burned. You're not. The mining is not a short-term gain. There's very rare instances where you can get cheap cards, and then you have a huge spike in price, and you have good yields for like 2-3 weeks before the rolling wave of more miners come online, or people start to pivot their hardware, or the hardware that's been turned off gets turned back on. And you may get some better yields with your equipment, and you'll ROI in 60 or so days with a single rig or something to that effect. Larger farms, though, get into a situation where you have power upgrades, you probably have people that you're paying, you have a lot more expenses. So your ops expenses are more than just your power cost, right? So there's a lot of math that goes into it, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to the center point of you own an asset that's physical that you can resell. And you're hedging your bet versus just putting all that money into a coin, and then you're really locked into that coin. And if you buy in at the height right now, where we've had still parabolic rise, we've had some pullback, but if Bitcoin ultimately pulls back for whatever reason back to $18,000-$20,000, I don't personally think it's going to do that. I think there's enough inertia behind it now to keep it up around probably a low of 38 or so. But if it does pull back and you've bought those coins at 45, 50, you're going to get yourself into a situation where now your $60,000 investment, you're waiting for those coins to go back up. For this, you're still just generating more new coins the whole time. Long way to answer it. Hopefully that answered it. I did see another super chat come in there. I've had quite a few subscribes come in, like boss. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys for subscribing there. Son of Tech. YouTube money. 5 spot. That's right, my dude. That was a good video that you did, Son of Tech, today. I got to catch you up, or you caught me up on what happened today, since I was on flying back on the call. I was unable to join the call. Not that they would have let me. I mean, so I did get reached out by one of the core devs about possibly being able to join the call today, and I did not. I did not have time. I was actually in the air when that call was going on, or getting ready to go in the air. Let's see here. Let's see if I missed somebody else. I saw another. Joe came in right after this, I think, and said something. Scrolling. You got 6 Radeon 7s. Should I sell them now at the top of the market and dollar cost average, or keep them mining? It's a good question, Joe. Those things are going for a small fortune. I mean, you can't get new cards, but you know, you could. It's if the coin's high and the cards are high, you're just exchanging that value into coins, and you're buying them at a higher rate. So if the coins come back down, then it's just you got to watch to see if was that a good, and that ended up becoming a good move or not. I would say historically, it was the best move you could do. If you had bought those cards at $600 or $699 when they first came out, those Radeon 7s, and you're able to fetch $1,500+ for them, I mean, you were able to mine with them. You probably got already your ROI out of them, and then you got out of them at double the price. Then you kind of did what I would call a triple double. in the mining, to where you were able to ROI your cards, and if you kept your coins versus, you know, selling them to try to pay off your original expense, you could double your amount of coins on top of that just by selling them. So it is a strategy. I would never tell somebody to do that. I would just tell them it's a good strategy. But again, it's because you're getting more than double for your cards if somebody wants to do that. And some people buy them in cards for, I mean, I sold a lot of my so I had a lot of test cards here. I'll give you guys an example. I had a lot of test cards here from the Prague Proof of Work days when we were doing testing in 2018, and I did like 70 separate videos on Twitch on testing every different type of GPU at that time that was out. I think we covered every single GPU. I had 72 different types of GPUs here. So it was almost every brand combo I could find. So there was only, I think, a total of 27 different types of GPUs at that point in time. That would have been mining. Like the physical difference, like RX 470, 480, 570, 580, 590, the whole GTX lineups, 1060s, 1070s, 1080s, 1070 Ti's, 1080 Ti's. So when you do all that count, there's like 27 different GPU types. So with the 72 was the different brands of those with then different memory, because that mattered at the time a lot more. If you had Micron memory, Samsung memory, Hynix memory on your Asus Strict, some of them gave different numbers. So we were doing a lot of testing to make sure that Prague Proof of Work was going to be resilient enough and gave a fair market opportunity for anybody to have an AMD or NVIDIA. And at the time, the testing showed that the NVIDIA had the advantage. Right now, I don't think it does with the RDNA 2, because these 6900 XTs, you know, in some basic initial testing with my, you know, Radeon stock version, the Founders version, is pretty good. I mean, it's like 40s, almost 40 mega hash on Kapow. And, you know, the 3090 is not much more higher than that. So like it's very competitive. So AMD and NVIDIA are very kind of lockstep with the newer tech when it comes to stuff like that. And it's the same way with the like gaming side, especially on the rasterization side. I got this most of the way built, my dudes. I got one more GPU to get out of here. And we can put it all the way the rest together. This is going to be a 5-card 6900 XT build that I'm going to be doing some testing through tomorrow with you guys. And we'll do some benchmark testing, check all the different algorithms, check configurations. And then I'm going to take 2 of these cards and I'm going to put them in the 5950X machine build that I have that's it's pretty stable. It's not fully stable. It's pretty stable enough to get through some Timespy. And I'm going to try 2 of these Nitros in for Timespy and see if I can improve my world record distancing. I'm at 33rd, I think, right now on Timespy, which is a benchmark test by 3D Mark. You'll see it on BitsBeTrippin on there. So I'm going to try to push myself back up into the top 20. And then I'm going to put 2 of the 3090 Zotacs that I have in that same machine and see if I can get on the list with the 2 3090s also. So that's just kind of some Saturday fun day stuff that I wanted to do. Which algo would you go with on NVIDIA for ETH chat? NVIDIA right now, NVIDIA really needs to do its compute update. Like AMD did. Serpent, you had a message retracted. I don't know why. Zotac, I'm gonna make sure I bump you up as a wrench next time too, and I'm gonna do it to Panda also. Panda's still around. Do you think NVIDIA wanted to nerf mining? No, I think they wanted to try to give gamers a shot, and we're still not very researched. I don't know how it happens, my dudes. I've offered to educate both NVIDIA and AMD if they need some assistance on understanding the scope. And if they wanted to make a gamer only card, the RTX 3060 non XT could have been really hampered in a way to make it just for gaming. Now, it would have probably been cracked pretty quickly, but CC, like a boss, coming in with a 99.99. Renting our facilities and equipment due to health issues. Any advice, including ROI, hash power in lease, or just renting the 1200 amp with 5 megawatt facility ready to scale? How would you fare price rental with the current hash power? I mean, so it's all going to come back down to CC on your what kind of power deal you have. I mean, you got to make money. So I would look at the way I always have done costing on anything is I look at what do I have to make to pay for everything. That's your baseline. That's what I'd call a zero-based budgeting approach, to where you know how much you have to make the lights go on and everything work. And from that, you can scale up margin of what you want to try to make on that. So, and then you can do the cost basis to figure, I have a facility, let's say it takes $10,000 to operate without anything running. That's your base price. Like $10,000 a month is what they're going to have to pay without any kind of, anything else. That's rental, that's wear and tear on the power equipment, that's your 6 month maintenance schedules on your fans, everything like that. You got to cost that out. And that's your zero base budget. That's the must make. Then you got to figure out, is there labor, and you can a la carte other opportunities for people that are going to bring hash power to you. And then you can be very transparent on whoever's going to bring hash power to understand, here's what you're getting and inheriting. And that might be not just one miner. You might have to work with 50 miners to make it worth viable for you to be able to do something like that. We've looked at that from the extra capacity in our site to look at, like, if we were compartmentalizing how much effort is it going to be to help other miners that are maybe don't have facilities, or they want to scale up and they have cards but they have nowhere to put them. How can that make it more reasonable for them to do that? And no matter what, it's cheaper if, like, what the costs end up coming down to is if we had 5.5 cents kilowatt per cost, it would end up being, what we would end up having to charge people would be like 12 to 14 cents per kilowatt if they were doing it themselves, because some of that cost that's baked in there is for the care and feeding of the rig and making sure that it's running all the time. So it still brings their cost basis back up to about 12 cents per kilowatt. So what you're giving them is essentially the same peace of mind that you're going to be running the rig, but they're not going to be getting that 5 cent carryover to, for that low cost at the end of the day, because they're going to be paying a fee on top of that 5 cents per kilowatt. So it all comes back down to what margin do you want to make. From beer, when I used to work at AB selling beer, and the margins anywhere from 7 to 12% is good revenue generation, as long as it's covering all your bases. So it's your cost plus whatever you're going to make on that right side of it. And I think that's fair. You got to make money as a facility. You never feel bad about that as making a facility. It's not about, like a family or a friend type of thing. It's business, right? So you got to, how does businesses make money? And then how does that person, what favor are you doing for them? Like, people could change their oil really cheap, right? You change your oil for $8 if you do it. Well, probably more than that now these days, probably $15, $20, and because of oil costs and everything else. But, or you could take it someplace and do it a lot, do it for, pay another $15 and not have that convenience. Same kind of thing goes with mining. Anybody that's been spending a lot of time trying to fix their rigs and do all that kind of stuff, they may want to go long and say, I want this thing in the facility for 3 years, and whatever crypto I end up with is what I end up with, and then I still own my hardware. So that's why that's CC. That's what I would say is, do your cost basis on what it costs for you to operate, and then base a 5, 7, 8, 12% margin on top of that, and that should give you your pricing. BBT, have you had any testing on Polaris with Kapow? Like the RX series? Like RX 470s, 570s, 580s? Not recent. I need to. I mean, so I have some RX 580, or I think I have some 590s on it right now, and they're like 12 and a half, 13 mega hash at like 110 watts. WX2, if you were contracted to set up and manage a farm for an investor, how do you charge them? Is it by percentage only? Well, it depends on the kind of build. If it's just a one-time visit and get them set up, it's usually a flat cost. If it's if it's a if it's a full-time type of gig, then you got to set a rate with them, and then they're paying you like a salary. But like I've done a few different visits before, and I mean, like a weekend visit type of thing might be $2,500, and like let's say it's 160 cards, 200 cards, something like that, because that's what's attainable in about a weekend to get set up. But that's full peace of mind, everything set up, scripted, OS all configured, wires all accounted for, everything all dialed in. Takes 12 to 16 hours to get all that done. That's about a $2,500 job. But again, it comes down to the cards, how quick you are with the rigs, that kind of setup. Yeah, 580 and so on. Yeah, so it's limited testing, Suntech. I still have 480s, 470s, 580s here. But when I was doing Prog Pal, the Team Red Miner wasn't supporting it. There were several no optimizations at the time, and it was only 7 to 8 mega hash at like 120 watts. So, and I've imported that spreadsheet. So if you guys go out to the mining spreadsheet out there, you should see all that previous history at the top right. So it's one of the tabs inside the mining spreadsheet that I had like the Ravencoin calculation with ETH and that. I've imported all that previous testing in there, and I've added a new tab or a new couple columns for some of the Kapow testing and the ETH testing. But if you hit the plus on that, you'll see a lot of the old ProgPal testing. You ever get the RX 570 16 gig cards rocking? Yes, I have one of them. It runs fine. It's kind of a gimmick on the 16 gigs though. Like the 16 gigs was really set up. The whole sell point of that was that it was going to do like C31 or C32 on Grin, and then Grin came out and did ASIC, so it kind of killed the whole point of it. If we could ever get AMD to release the opportunity to kick up two separate instances, like we had when I had the render bug on the 6900, whenever I thought that it had to do with setting up some of the more advanced features, the memory adjustments with the new RDNA 2 with the 5000 series, where I had the renderer kicking out a completely separate instance, and you would see it fight over that, and you saw both 2 DAG allocated to graphics memory, and we were using almost 12 gig or 10 gigs of graphics memory when I was mining ETH, and you could see it fighting over it. Like I dumped all of those logs out. I sent them to AMD. I was like, obviously there's a bug in your driver that's allowing 2 instances to kick out, and the core's fighting over this, and they're leveling out, and it's showing like 80 mega hash. Now it looked like it was false positive out there, but there was no doubt that there was 2 DAGs loaded, and it was loading into the graphics memory. Windows was reporting it. Hardware Info was reporting that we were using almost 10 gig, a little over 10 gigs of memory. Can you guys hear my son yelling? He's like playing something. Let me know if you can. I'll tell him to pipe it down if you hear him yelling. He's playing a game with his friends. It's a Friday night, so he's in the background just yelling right now, at the top of his lungs. Our Dell OEM's 3080 is good for mining. It's the same core. There's no difference, my dude. You might have some power issues, or some temperature throttling issues. I would almost guarantee, because those are probably, I think, blower based cards. No, not really. Awesome. RTX voice for the win, my dudes. Let's get this fifth one out. Let him have fun. What's up, my dudes? You can hear him, but he can. He's playing. Hey Ben, what are you playing over there? Hey Jammin, Jim, what are you playing? Yeah, everybody's wondering what you're playing because we can all hear you. What is it? Which map is it? Predator? Venator. He's playing Gary's mod with like a group. It sounded like he was playing like PUBG or something. He's yelling. He's giving orders to people. All right, it's time to tech. Some more plastic pill, my dude. Should do this one close to you guys. It's like torture. I know, my dude. Oh, sweet music. I'm in heaven. Looking for another bolt here. How did I get these? We ordered them in December from a distributor. Some of your guys' comments are killing me, man. I do, NZXT does a really good job on their cases with the plastic peel, like on the mirrors or on the smoked glass sides. It's beautiful. Yes, it does have that. It smells almost like you get that smell whenever you pull out water wings or something for the kids. It's that kind of pool smell. I was thinking about if I'm going to stream that tomorrow. If you guys want to see me try to break those records on Timespy or not, it's not really mining content. I will do some mining test obviously during that stream, but I'm going to try to put a couple of these. Oh, I left one of them on. I'm going to try to break that Timespy, my current record of 33, and see if I can get back into the 20s with a couple of these nitros, because my other numbers came from the basic reference editions, and these should be better in every way. Chlorine. I think we've all sniffed them. Well, yeah, I had a of the voice fry. King of the voice fry. Well, that's 5 of them. I wish I had 6, but we have 5. So I'll get that set up later for testing. I wanted to just start to put this together. We already went an hour. I only wanted to go an hour tonight. I'm going to get the rest of this thing cleaned up. Before I pull these 2 cards, what I'm going to do, if you guys are up for it, is we'll do a stream tomorrow with the testing and configurations of all these cards as a rig right now. And then we'll switch over and pull 2 of these over to the 5950X, and I'm going to try to take on that record on Timespy with a couple of these. And then I'm going to put 2 of the RTX 3090s in there, and I'm going to try to take it on there too. 420 viewers. Was the Discord link updated? Yes, it should have been in the last few videos. I will make sure it's updated in this one. I need to go back through and just start updating it. Which power bill? At the farm, it's about $13,000 to $15,000 a month. Here at the house, it depends. It ranges. If I'm testing stuff here, and if the fountains and stuff are on in the back, it can be like $1,000 a month. About 328. Yeah, it should be. So it's 5 times 65 essentially is what this should be. But hopefully this answers. I was able to answer some of your guys' questions. If I missed anybody's questions and you guys want to re-ask those tomorrow, you're more than welcome to ask those. I will try to give you guys a comprehensive answer if I have it. Some things I don't know, or like if you're asking about specific coins, or if we get into more staking stuff. I think one of the good outcomes of having Micah on last time was we got to learn a lot more about ETH2. If you guys think I should have somebody else that is not necessarily proof of work moving on, but the same format, and just have a fireside chat, if you guys think that's worth it, let me know who you would like to see. If that's Charles Hotskin, if that's from ADA, if you guys want to hear and see a conversation. I've been trying to get Vitalik on here. He's a busy cat. We'll see. But, you know, put some comments below who you guys would like to see, and I will try to reach out. I'm also trying to reach out now that I'm back and in town with having the next live stream, like Zoom session, I want to have with some of the larger miner pools. So I'm going to be trying to reach out to Bitfly, which has Ethermine. I'd like to get Chris from Flexpool on here. I want to see if I can get the majority of the large pools on a Zoom, and we can go through some stuff. I think that would be an excellent stream. I think we'd be able to go through a lot of the MEV discussion now that we know 1559 is getting in. Vitalik wouldn't be super boring with me, I don't think. I think I would razz him up a bit. I'd make it interesting. I don't think he's scared. I think he's just a busy dude. He's like, who's this guy with a stupid hat on and wants to talk to me? This stupid miner. We're kicking you guys off the friggin' network. Why would I want to waste my time with that, right? That's probably where his mind's at, but I think there's a little more to it. Hopefully I can, you know, win him over with some understanding of the grassroots and the history of what helped his chain get where it's at. Yes, I will test this rig out on Hive OS. Vitalik would be rockstar tier. Most people that are super brilliant like that sometimes have little quirks. All of us have it. BBT, do you do consulting? Yes, I do. Use the cat filter on your Zoom call. Dude, I was actually thinking about installing that for reals. That would be funny. Awesome. Well, you guys got that. Put your comments below. Thank you for the likes below. That helps the algorithm distribute this. And I will catch you guys tomorrow for the output of this rig, and then we'll pivot to doing the test with the other machine, and that should be fun. All right, my dudes. I got a new SpaceX hat coming too, so I can get rid of my AMG hat. All right, my dudes. I'll catch you tomorrow. It's probably going to be midday, probably about 12, 1 o'clock Central Standard Time.